Hey guys, Michael Parker, back with Joint Venture Episode 2, and we're going to continue our conversation with Barbara Southworth. And when we left off, we were talking about California, we were talking about banking, and one of the most interesting things to me about this cannabis economy is that in some ways, it's a bit punk rock, Old West, like we're making up the rules as we go along. You're a part of that. You sell insurance, you sell surety bonds to cannabis-related companies. Tell me about that.
It too, the insurance industry, like the banking industry, has been struggling to meet the needs of cannabis insurance. And there's only a few participants, both from a surety bond perspective, there's only a few surety companies writing surety bonds for the industry, and there's only a few insurance companies writing policies for the cannabis industry. And they're not as robust as, the policies aren't as robust as everyone would like, but they are there. They have general liability, product liability, crop insurance. I say that loosely, crop insurance,
Right.
because the crop insurance today does not apply to outdoor grows or greenhouse grows. It only applies to indoor grows. They still have yet to solve getting cannabis insured in the outdoor grows that were in Northern
Yes.
California that all got burned up.
Right.
Anyway, the crop insurance only covers theft and fire. It doesn't cover things like fungus infections or bacterial infections or microbial infections. It doesn't cover all of that, which is those are big sources of crop loss. So I use the crop insurance loosely. There are other vehicles for an indoor grow. If they have equipment breakdown policy, then if the HVAC system or the electricity goes down, the lights burn out, the crop is burned up from or caused failure from fungus because the HVAC system isn't working, the equipment breakdown policy will cover that crop loss. But it has to be a direct result of an equipment breakdown. So there's a lot of holes yet in the insurance solutions that are out there, but
That sounds like insurance to me, by and large. I mean, so you mentioned in the last episode, you're selling these financial services to all states in which medicinal marijuana or recreational marijuana is allowed.
yes,
So I'm thinking business is good.
business is great. Business is very good.
Right. All of this, as this incredibly large amount of money starts being made, I think all of these regulations will surely loosen because of the revenue that can be made.
Exactly. Money is power.
Yeah. And as California goes, I would think we're essentially creating the model for the rest of the U.S. because, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm an optimist. I think that it is inevitable that eventually cannabis is legal throughout the U.S.
Eventually, yes. California is unique
Of course.
from the rest of the states that have considered cannabis because of the fact that they've had this legal market for so many years without any controls. Whereas if you're in Texas or you're in Illinois or these other states, they have had no legal cannabis. And so their institutions are all new and the regulations are all new and the companies, that's how they're starting. They're already familiar with, this has to be a fully compliant operation. In California, the market is much larger. The California market is estimated to be, on its own, larger than all the other states added together.
Sure.
For a number of reasons. For tourism, not only the population of California, but the tourism numbers are huge. And all the tourism coming off the Pacific Rim. It's the only other state actually that has close to the same makeup is Texas.
Right, because of the petroleum industry.
And they have large tourism numbers, they have a large population and a large geographic.
California, I read the other day, is either the 5th or the 6th biggest economy in the world, which is astounding, but not really surprising. So when you take that into consideration, with this cannabis economy, you start thinking about selling overseas, right? So tell me a little bit more, because we were talking about Canada. Canada already has legal cannabis nationally. And I was asking you about that, and you made a very interesting point in their strategy. Talk about Canada and how they're handling it and why.
Okay, we'll start first. California or any state cannot ship cannabis-related products over state lines right now.
Right.
They can't export it to another country. They can't export it to another state. In Canada, recently, they've nationalized cannabis, making it legal throughout the entire country. And what that has enabled them to do is start exporting to other countries. And they're focusing on that big time. The producers in Canada, they are anxious they're actually spending more time focusing on exporting than they are on their own people, because that market from a worldwide perspective is gigantic, and they're taking advantage of it big time, which is...
That's quite true.
Yeah, it's good for the country, for Canada. They get a better GMP because they're doing exporting. It's good for the companies because they're making bank on it. And Canada, because it's now nationally legal, they don't have any banking problems either. So it's a win-win for Canada, and they only have a limited window. I mean, there are countries exporting hemp in the world, but they're not exporting cannabis. So
Canada was exporting hemp.
Yes.
All right, so I understand that the way their country works is different than ours. So I was hoping that perhaps we could learn or take something from that, but good on them for being able to exploit it while they can, because they were staunchly against cannabis for many, many years.
Yes.
Even though there were areas, Vancouver, I believe, you could go in smoke shops. Let's shift gears and wind out this session on, let's talk about real estate. Because just on the local level, it's interesting because now real estate for cannabis growth is a hot issue.
Yes, it is.
So talk about that a little bit, because there's zoning issues, there's certain places you can't do it at all. Do you know people that are selling real estate for cannabis?
Oh, absolutely.
And they're loving life right now?
Oh, they are, because they can charge, the market will bear a higher price for real estate in particular. In Northern California, it's actual land. In Southern California, it's all indoor grows. There's no outdoor grows. And so it's buildings and land. So, and they're charging landlords. It's kind of surprising, actually, to the landlords. I have a case that I'm working on right now where this gentleman has owned this massive warehouse for years and leased it out to various companies or whatever. And now he's decided, he wants to get into the cannabis world, and because he can charge a much larger monthly lease rate. So he's thrilled. But he also did not realize that insurance policy that he had with XYZ, like Nationwide or State Farm or whoever
it was,
those companies will not insure him because his building will have cannabis in it.
Right.
They have to go to a broker like me and get a lease landlord policy from a non-admitted carrier, and the price is double. Not quite double, but it's a lot higher than what they're used to. So they're getting sticker shock from those kind of features, but it doesn't matter because they're making so much more money on the property.
I understand. And another thing that's slightly counterintuitive, there are some environmental issues that are being raised regarding cannabis. You're thinking, are you kidding me? An environmental issue of growing a plant? But there are. And there's also utilities.
Yes.
Like this takes a ton of water and a ton of electricity.
Exactly. So these buildings have to be retrofitted with enhanced electrical service and enhanced plumbing. They can't go with a building that was built in 1947 and rely on that infrastructure. They have to redo it in order to accommodate a grow or a manufacturer. They all require more power, more water. And the environmental issue is about aroma, and it's about water, wastewater. So there's a whole bunch of technical issues that have to be resolved before they can start growing cannabis in the building. So, but they know all those things. The state is really jamming it down their throats, these requirements.
In your opinion, because you've been in this for a long time, where are you going to grade the state of California on our state of readiness, preparedness?
They're actually doing surprisingly well. I was expecting, let me give you a little history. In every state that has legalized cannabis in one form or another, not one of those states has ever hit their target dates. But they've built in a safe zone by issuing some temporary licenses in December that'll enable businesses to continue to operate until the state is able to start issuing licenses.
And I think you've kind of implied to me that you think they may just keep extending.
They'll keep extending those temporary licenses.
They will have a temporary license, they'll have an extension, and then there's another license, which is like 6 months, in which they can sell certain types of goods that may not be labeled correctly. Is that right?
Exactly right.
So that they've got a lot of leeway to try to get this thing rolling.
Yeah, they've built in a little flex.
You've also said that states actually have a lot of political capital invested in this, so they really do want to see it succeed.
Every state that I've done business in every state, and I have seen the government, the state government, bend over backwards in order to aid and assist their licensees. They want them to succeed for that very reason. They've spent a lot of political capital getting it through the system and getting licenses issued. They don't want them to fail. They will go to great lengths at enabling them to succeed. Even there was question in Illinois whether that would happen, because Illinois as a state is bankrupt. So there was a lot of potential for a money grab there, meaning the state would say, oh, you didn't meet your requirements, and grab the surety bond that was in the millions, or they just reissue the license to someone else. So there was concern about that, but that has not happened either. They've been, the state of Illinois, as other states, have really gone the extra mile to help their licensees succeed.
That is good to hear. I think that a lot of people will be surprised by that, but I'm glad to hear the positivity. We're going to wrap this up. Barbara, it's been a pleasure. Tell people how they can follow your work, listen to your show, inquire about your services.
My show is it's on an internet radio station called healthylife.net. My show is the Marijuana State Report. It's the only one on that station that deals with cannabis at all. And my show is all about the business of cannabis, not just the growing of it or the dispensing of it. There's hundreds of ancillary businesses that are popping up as a result of this wonderful market. And so I focus on all different kinds of businesses and how they're adapting and growing, and people are so creative. It's just amazing.
Well, this is exciting times for the state of California, and I believe for the U.S. And it's been a pleasure having you on again.
you.
I hope you'll come back. I have a feeling you're going to come back.
I'd love to.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Parker. This has been Joint Venture. I hope you like what we're doing here, and I hope that you'll spread it around to your friends. And let us hear from you. I mean, email us, tell us about topics that you would like for us to discuss. And until next time, thanks for joining the adventure here on Joint Venture. I'm out.